Okay, good afternoon. Today's Shir Leila Nishmas Avraham David ben Tzvi Zalman, Zeichat Tzadik Avracha, a dear friend of mine. Tzvi Dav ben Chaim Pesach, William and Helen Rochel Bas Yosef, Leila Nishmas David ben Avraham, Leila Nishmas Fred ben Richard, and Yitzchak ben Sarah Devorah Bas Yitzchak, Avraham and Mordechai David, Reuven ben Shmuel, Shoshana Bas Elchanan, Yeshua ben Shmuel, Chana Golda, Bas Yisrael, Chaim ben Fege, Yaakov ben Yitzchak, Mordechai Netzach ben Rivka, Rochel Bas Yosef, Eliezer ben Yaakov, Chaim ben Gedalia, Zalman Le ben Moshe, Chaim Elio ben Yosef Moshe, Amichai ben Yaakov, Gedalia ben Tzvi Ruvain, Eliezer ben Yaakov, Rochel Bas Yosef, Chaim ben Gedalia, Leila Nishmatam, Parshat Esther Bat Bela, Leila Nishmatam. So today we're going to look at Parshas Yithro. Look at the Haftorah. You can look in the either Blue Book or the Birnbaum book. Avram, you have a Birnbaum book or a Blue Book. The very problematic Haftorah, which begins the book of Isaiah, chapter 6. Now, in the Parshat, Elisheva, the Jewish people have this divine revelation. And in the Haftorah, Isaiah has a personal revelation. And he says, so, divine revelation of the Jewish people in the Parshat. Which one?
1154.
1154 in the Blue Book, and in the Birnbaum,
371.
it's Isaiah 6, Pasuk 1.
371.
He says, Bishnas Mois Melech Haziyo, in the year when the king Haziyo died, Ve'eret Hashem, and I saw God sitting on his exalted throne. You hear, Abraham? Yeshayahu says he saw God sitting on his exalted throne. That's very problematic, because if you look in Shemois Lamed Gimel, Pasuk Kaf, Exodus 33:20, God says, Ki lo yarani adam v'chai. No human being can what? See my face and live. So how could Isaiah say in the Haftorah, I saw God sitting on his throne, when Exodus 33 verse 20 says, no human being can see me at all? And we said that the reason that Chazal chose this Haftorah, Avram, because the Parsha speaks about divine revelation. The Jewish people got the Torah, they saw and heard God. And in the Haftorah, Yeshayahu has a personal revelation of God. But at the divine revelation, the Torah says clearly, in Devarim 4, Pasuk 12, Avraham, in Devarim 4, Pasuk 12, God spoke to you amidst the fire, the Ten Commandments, Kol Devarim atem shomim. You only heard the voice of words. Utmuna einchem royim. You didn't see any what? Any image. Devarim 4, Pasuk 12. Deuteronomy 4:12. V'yidaber Hashem elechem tocha eish. Moshe Rabbeinu is describing Parshas Yithro, what took place. God spoke to you amidst the fire. Kol devarim atem shomim. The sound of words you heard. Utmuna einchem rayim. You didn't hear any what? You didn't see any image. Zelosi kol. The only thing is that you heard what? A voice. So how could Isaiah say, I saw God sitting on the throne? Very problematic, don't you think? Yeah. The Gemara in Sanhedrin says, for that, Menashe had Yeshayahu executed. Menashe, the king of Judah, was the grandson of whom? Of Yeshayahu. So he had his Zayda executed. He says, Zayda, Saba, you're a heretic. The Torah says you can't see God and live. The Torah says that at Har Sinai, we didn't see any image, only heard a voice. So how could you say, I saw God sitting on a throne? Therefore, you must be a heretic. So Menashe had Yeshayahu executed. Yeshayahu, the second greatest Navi after Moshe Rabbeinu, was executed by his own grandson, Menashe, king of Judah, Abi. So why did Isaiah deserve such a faith that he should be put to death? So the answer is found in the Haftorah. Look at Pasuk 5, Avi. Isaiah 6, Pasuk 5. Isaiah 6, Pasuk 5, Avi. You with me? He says, I dwell among people with unclean lips. He slandered the Jewish people. for slandering the Jewish people. Therefore, he deserved to be punished and he was executed. But the question is, how could he, this great prophet, how could he say he saw God when the Torah says, Evelyn, in two places, God has no physical features, right? So the Talmud answers, when he said he saw God, it was his imagination. God has no physical features. But the Jewish people, when they got the revelation at Sinai, were on the level of Moshe Rabbeinu. For that magic moment, they saw so clear what, Masha, that God has no physical image. But Yeshayahu was on a lower level. So in order to inculcate Nechama, the message, he had to have this image conjured up in his mind, otherwise he couldn't relate to the message. So this great Navi knew that God has no physical image. But in order to inculcate the message, he had to conjure up this image in his mind, otherwise he just couldn't relate. But of course, God has no physical image. But Manasseh, his grandson, the wicked Rasha, he used this as a pretense to execute what? Yeshayahu, the great Navi, his grandfather. And he deserved this fate, Chazal say, because he slandered the Jewish people. In this week's Haftorah, Masha, Isaiah 6, Pasuk 5, he says, I dwell among people with unclean lips. He slandered the Jewish people, and therefore he deserved to be punished. The greater a person is, Avi, the greater, if he falls away from that greatness, Evelyn, is what? He's punished. A regular person would have slandered the Jewish people. It wouldn't have been punished so severely. But since Isaiah was such a great tzaddik and Navi, for slandering the Jewish people, he deserved this punishment that his own grandson, Manasseh, executed him. Yes?
What's interesting is slandering the Jewish people and giving constructive criticism.
So you hear, so this...
didn't most of the prophets do that?
1 minute. Avram's asking a good question. See, a prophet, Elisheva, has two roles. Dual role. Don't mix up the roles. When you're speaking to the Jewish people, you take off the gloves, Avi. When you're speaking about the Jewish people to God, God says, I don't want to hear anything bad about my children. You got something to say, you say it to them. When you're speaking to God about the Jewish people, I only want to hear good things. You hear? Very important not to mix up the boxes.
So Isaiah was speaking to...
He was speaking to God. That's why you have the Haftorah in front of you, Avram. So you don't have the book open. So there's a book right there, next to Avi. That's why you have plenty of books. So you're not looking in, so you don't see. He was speaking to God, slandering the Jewish people. Shelley, that's not the way to go. God says, you want to tell them? Fine. That's your job. But don't speak negatively about them to me. Yes? Don't mix up your roles.
2 questions.
Fire away.
Didn't Moses see the backside of Hashem? He allowed it.
What did he see, the backside? He saw the...
Hashem said you can see the back.
The back. What does that mean? He saw the kesher shel tefillin. So what do you mean the back?
What
He saw the knot of tefillin. Does God really wear tefillin? The knot of... It was a mental picture that Hashem... What do you mean Hashem wears tefillin? God is not corporal. For that moment, God is not Ani Mamin. One of the Ani Mamins is that God is not physical, right? You have the book in front of you, Nechama. Can you go to Devarim 4, Pasuk 12? Let's read that again. Devarim 4, Pasuk 12. Very important to see inside. Not to get mixed up here. Devarim 4, Pasuk 12. I want you to read that. I don't know what page it is, but Devarim 4, Pasuk 12. What did the Jews see? 961 in the blue book. What did the Jews see at Sinai? Avi. Not in this book. It's easy. Just Devarim 4, Pasuk 12. What?
Right, this is my book, but I'm sharing it with you. So behave.
It's
Avi, you want to read that?
in the Rambam it's 286.
The Birnbaum, it's 286. Pasuk 12.
286.
God spoke to you in the fire. You only heard a voice. Utmuna einchem rayim zelosikol. You didn't see any image because God has no image. You only heard his voice. So what does it mean, Elisheva, when God showed him the back of the... This was an image that God projected inside Moses' head for that moment. For that moment, he gave him that picture. But God, in essence...
Virtual reality. Yeah.
Virtual reality. Thank you. Virtual reality. Isaiah is speaking about virtual reality. In reality, God has no image. As he says, Nechama Devarim 4, Pasuk 12. Did you read? Did you look it up?
That's right.
But he gave him virtual reality for that moment, that magic moment. Because human beings, in order to inculcate a message, need to see physical image. Otherwise, they can't relate.
Or hear.
Okay?
Rabbi.
Yes.
David always was saying to Hashem, take care of my enemies. Look what my enemies. Well, he was talking about Saul. He was talking about the Jewish people. Look
Yes.
what they're doing to me.
Right.
So we can do this.
What?
We can when
do what?
Davening psalms and
Yes.
thinking of our own enemies. We're talking about the Jewish people.
Yes. I
The
don't.
noisy neighbors that Baruch Hashem.
No.
So pray that they become unnoisy.
I'll let them talk.
Pray that they become unnoisy, right? But anyway, let's look at the Haftorah and see how it relates to today, right? So in the Parshat, the entire Jewish nation has a close encounter of the third kind, of the highest kind with God. In the Haftorah, Yeshayahu has a personal encounter with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, right? So, every person can have a personal relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Every person can have a personal relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Every person. Okay? So this is the private revelation that he had Isaiah. Let's look at the Parsha for the divine revelation that the entire Jewish people had. The Parshat Yithro. Shemot 18, Pasuk 1, Abraham.
395 in the blue book.
Avi, you have that? Exodus 18, 1.
And 113 in the Burma.
113.
113.
Yisro, the Kohen Midian, heard what Hashem did to the Jewish people. So Yisro comes to join the Jewish people, and he brings Moshe Rabbeinu's family that Moshe Rabbeinu had sent away. And look what he says. Look what he says in Pasuk 6. Exodus 18:6. You see that, Nechama? Strange Pasuk, no?
He said to Moses, I, your father-in-law,
Yisro,
have come to you with your wife and her 2 sons with her.
and her 2 sons with her. Weren't they his 2 sons?
Well, we hope.
So what? You hear this? The question from Chaim Eliyahu. It's very strange. He should have said, your 2 sons. How come it says, Ushnei bonei ima, her 2 sons with her? This was a rebuke to Moshe Rabbeinu.
Yeah. Leaving them.
They don't, exactly.
And not communicating.
You don't treat them like your sons. They're her sons. If they're really your sons, you would take an interest in them.
There you go.
It's rebuke. It's rebuke. The Torah is stating that, you ever hear the expression, Elisheva, a shoemaker's children go barefoot.
Of course.
Go without shoes. Evelyn, you ever heard that expression? What? So anyway, the Torah goes on here, and it uses a strange expression in Exodus 18:9. Vayichad Yithro. Yithro rejoiced al kol hatovah. But how does what does the English say? Exodus 18:9?
Yithro
Rejoiced.
All the good.
But how do you say rejoice in Hebrew? Yehuda vayismach. It doesn't say vayismach, it says vayichad. It's a strange word, Masha, vayichad. So Rashi says, the simple explanation means that Yisro rejoiced. But a deeper explanation, the word vayichad means that his skin became like full of goosebumps, like pricked with a needle, because he felt bad that the Mitzrim drowned.
Who? What?
You hear this?
Feel bad that these were short.
He felt bad that the Mitzrim drowned, so his skin became chadadin. How do you say that in English? Chadadin. Prickles.
Who's this, Moshe Rabbeinu?
No, Yithro.
Yithro.
So therefore it says vayichad. Doesn't say vayismach. On one level, he rejoiced in the salvation of the Jewish people. But on another level, he felt upset that his former people were destroyed because he was a cabinet minister in Egypt. Yithro was a cabinet minister in Egypt.
I just resigned Flynn.
Cabinet.
Flynn?
Yes.
It was like Flynn.
He was an advisor to Pharaoh.
Like Flynn.
At the time of
At the time of Pharaoh.
Joseph.
No, at this time.
Left.
But on one level, he rejoiced for the salvation of Jewish people. On another level, he was upset and he was pained that his former people were destroyed. Now, which explanation the Chama is right? They're both right. Chama said they're both right. The human mind and heart is so complex that a person on one level can be joyful, at the same time he can feel sorrow. And the halacha actually codifies it, Rav Shalom. Do you know that? The halacha actually codifies this. Yeah. We say half Hallel. But again, at the same time, Yithro rejoiced salvation of the Jews, but he felt pain on the destruction of Egypt. So you say it's a contradiction. How could you feel joy and sorrow simultaneously? The halacha Abraham codifies this. You can look in the Rambam, Hilchas Brachot, in the Orach Chaim, Hilchas Brachot. A beloved parent dies, and he leaves a son who really loves him, and they really love each other, and the son is very upset, and he cries with bitter tears. He lost his beloved parent. But his beloved parent left him $1 million inheritance.
Yeah.
So the halacha says something very bizarre, Reb Shalom. I think it's bizarre. He has to do dayan or emet and tear his shirt, but he also has to make a shechiyanu. Avram is being a hypocrite?
No.
Is he being a hypocrite?
No.
No, the human mind is so complex. We learn from Yithro. On one level, he's terribly upset. His beloved parent is gone, he's crying bitter tears. But on another level, now he has $1 million in the bank, which he didn't have yesterday. So he has to express gratitude to God. Elisheva, do you hear this?
Yes.
It's not being hypocritical.
No,
This is what we learn from Yithro. It's not a story, Nechama. The human mind and heart is so, who knows what lurks.
Isn't this what we say when your mother-in-law goes over the cliff with your new Mercedes? Isn't that the same?
A mixed blessing? What's a mixed blessing? Evelyn, what?
But since when was he an Egyptian? I thought he was.
He was a Midianite, but he was an advisor to Pharaoh. So he felt a kinship with the Egyptians. So on one level, he felt sorrow that they drowned.
But he also knew God on the mountain.
No, he didn't go to the
God
mountain,
of Israel.
right? He became a convert to Judaism. But anyway, this is what the Torah is teaching us over here. This is what the Torah is teaching us, that the human being can feel joy and sorrow simultaneously. It's not being hypocritical.
A person can love two people.
Right, and therefore you make a bracha dayin emes lo yaleinu, and when you pick up the check in the lawyer's office, you make a shechiyanu.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so this is what you learn. You learn from what? From this story from Yithro, right? Now, if you go to Exodus 19, pasuk 5, Exodus 19:5. I'll wait. God says, if you listen to my voice,
403 in the blue book
4:3 in the blue book,
and 115 in the...
and 115 in Birnbaum. You have it, Avi? Yeah. Now, if you listen to my voice, God says, observe my covenant, you shall be sigula mikol amim. What do they say that? V'yitem li sigula mikol amim.
Most beloved treasure of all people.
People looking for a segula all the time, right? The word comes from here, Chama. V'yitem li segula, what does that mean? Segula. They say beloved treasure. But Nechama in Hebrew, Segula comes from the word segol. Segol is a triangle. The 3 dots of a segol is shaped like a triangle. Says the Balaturim, Yitem li segula. Avram, you hear this? God says you will become part of the love triangle. They got everything from us. The love triangle. What's the love triangle? The Zohar HaKodesh says, HaKadosh Baruch Hu and the Torah and the Jewish people are all part of the same love triangle.
That's beautiful.
Who said 3 is a crowd? Segula, Abraham, Segol, the love triangle. The Zohar says, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Jewish people, and the Torah, Chad. Wow.
That's great.
Isn't that amazing? Wow.
You once said seagull.
Segol. Segol means a triangle in Hebrew. You know the 3 dots, Segol? What?
Helper to the Kohen.
Yeah, what is
The name Segal, a Levi is called Segal because it's a Rosh Tevot Segan Levi.
Segan Levi.
That the Levites are the Segan to the Kohanim.
What's Segan mean?
Assistant. The Levites were the assistants, right?
The person who has the last name Seagull is probably
A Levi, right? Is a Levi, right? Now, here you get to the main event, Avram. The main event. The main event, Exodus 19. The main event. Exodus 19:17. Elisheva, take it away. Exodus 19:17. The main event.
And 405.
405.
Moses brought the people forth from the camp toward God, and they stood at the bottom of the mountain.
It says they stood underneath the mountain.
Yeah, we did.
How come the Hebrew, how come they don't translate Vayitzatzu betachtit ahar? They stood underneath the mountain. Avi, how could you
say it in English? How can you stand underneath the mountain?
How could you stand underneath the mountain?
They stood at the bottom
What?
of the mountain. The bottom of it.
Betachtit means what?
Under. It means under.
It means under. Tachat. Tachat means under. Well, the Gemara in Shabbos 88 says it means under.
Biblical Hebrew it does.
Okay.
Nechamad, Shabbos page 88 says they stood under the mountain. How could you do that? So the Talmud Shabbos 88 says God lifted up the mountain over their heads like a barrel and said, if you don't say I do, it's all over.
You're done.
It's all over. Now in Virginia, they used to call that a shotgun wedding.
Yeah, that's right. I like it. I like a man in charge.
Is that any way to begin a relationship?
Yeah.
See, we're under a misconception over here. Is God threatening us? At the beginning of the honeymoon, he lifted up the mountain over our heads as a barrel, and he said, if you accept the Torah, good. V'imlav shamte kivaraschem. Is that proper Hebrew? Should have said pote kivaraschem. What's sham? Sham means over there. Should have said, if you don't accept the Torah, here will be your burial ground. But God doesn't say that. He says over there. It's a totally misconception. God lifted up the mountain. Why did he have to turn it into a barrel for? Roll out the barrel. Why did he have to turn it into a barrel?
To show
Why not a mountain? If he wants to harm us, an empty barrel cannot harm you. If you throw a barrel on somebody, the barrel is hollow. It protects you. The barrel is made to protect the precious cargo inside, whether it's wine or oil. It's not a threat. God lifted up the mountain as a barrel. And he said, if you accept the Torah will protect you. You'll be an eternal people. If not, there will be your burial ground. What's there mean? Avram should have said po. There means outside the barrel.
no
That means no protection. If you don't accept the Torah, you'll become a people like the Phoenicians, like the Babylonians, like the Greeks, the Romans, the Egyptians. They're all buried under the sands of history. Masha is not a threat. Misconception. Yeah. If you accept the Torah will protect you like a barrel protects the precious wine. But if not, sham, outside the barrel, you'll be buried under the sands of history, like the Phoenicians and the Babylonians and the Assyrians. It's not a threat. It's a promise. Complete misconception, what the Torah is telling us, right? So it really wasn't a shotgun wedding. It was just what Hashem is telling us the way it is, right? Protector, right? Sham, over there, outside the barrel, right? If you don't accept the Torah. Now, there's an amazing verse over here in Exodus 19:10. Exodus 19:10. Hashem says to Moshe, tell the people to sanctify themselves today, umachar. See that, Abraham? What does it say?
Go, tell the people and sanctify them today and tomorrow.
Today and tomorrow.
And they...
1 minute. Now, we know that Torah is not a history book, Torah is GPS. What do I need to know what Moses said 3,329 years ago? Sanctify yourself today and tomorrow. What's the message? People always say, I'll start my diet tomorrow. Avram, but tomorrow never comes. People get all excited about Yom Kippur. The Yom Kadosh, Yom Kippur. Don't forget the day after. Kidashtam hayom umachar. It's not enough just to act holy on Yom Kippur or on Rosh Hashanah. Don't forget the machar, Avi. There's a tomorrow. How are you going to behave after Yom Kippur? How are you going to behave after Rosh Hashanah? You have to retain that Kedusha. Kidashtem hayom, but don't forget the tomorrow, right? A Jew has to live a life of Kedusha, not just on the holy day, but the day after. Powerful message that the Torah is what is teaching us over here. Very powerful message. Now, the Ten Commandments. How many letters are there in the Ten Commandments, Abraham? 620. You don't believe me, you can count. Which is Gematria Keter. Keter is a crown. The crown of Torah, Kaf Taf Resh, is Gematria 620. There's 620 letters in the Ten Commandments. Each letter represents what? A mitzvah. You know that, Elisha? Each letter, so when God spoke the Ten Commandments, they also heard what? Not just the Ten Commandments, but each letter of Ten Commandments represents, symbolizes a mitzvah. There's 613 Torah mitzvahs, and there are 7 rabbinic mitzvahs, Abraham. Even the rabbinic mitzvahs are represented by what? A letter in the Ten Commandments. So before you light Friday night candles, what bracha do you make? God, you commanded me to light Friday night candles. Last time I checked, where did God command me to light Friday night candles? Or Purim and Hanukkah. You make the bracha, right? God, you commanded me to light Hanukkah candles, Shabbos candles. It's rabbinic. So where did God command me? The letter, the extra 7 letters. Avi, the extra, tell your father, the extra 7 letters. Even the rabbinic mitzvot have a letter in the Ten Commandments. Otherwise, before you light your Chanukah candles, how could you make the bracha? Asher kirishanu b'mitzvaysav b'tzivanu. V'hechen tzivanu. Where did God command me to light Friday night candles? It's the extra 7 letters in the Ten Commandments, representing the 7 rabbinic mitzvot.
Wow.
It's all part of the package. The keter. Keter in Hebrew means crown. The numerical value of keter is 620. Koinky dinky?
I don't think so.
No. Now look how God begins the Ten Commandments. Exodus 20, Pasuk 2. Onoichi Hashem Elokecha. Let's look at the Hebrew Nechama. You see that? Exodus 20. Is that Pasuk 2?
116 in the Birnbaum and 407 in the Blue Book.
You have that?
Yes.
407 in the Blue Book. I am Hashem your God, who took you out of the land of Egypt, right? Mm-hmm. Now look at the word Anochi. How do you say I in Hebrew? Ani. So the Talmud in Shabbos asked the question, God should have said Ani Hashem Elokecha. That's how you say, God knows Hebrew, right?
Yeah.
Ani. So why does he say Anochi? Why does he say Anochi Hashem Elokecha? Not Ani. Says the Talmud in Shabbos 109. You're sitting down, Shelley. Anochi is an acronym. Mash, how do you say acronym in English? FBI, CIA, NYPD. Please hear me well. Look at the Hebrew Anochi. Avi, you have it? Abraham. Anochi?
Which is Pasuk.
Pasuk 2. Exodus 22.
On page 406.
Anochi Hashem Elokech. The Talmud in Shabbos asked, how come God doesn't say Ani? That's why I say Hebrew, Ani.
Right.
So the Talmud says Anochi is an acronym. Avi, acronym in English? FBI.
Yeah.
IRS? LAX?
Yeah.
Look at the word Anochi. Anochi. The Aleph, now keep in mind, Nechama, that Hebrew and Aramaic are what? Intertwined. You know that. Look at the Talmud dissects the word Anochi. Aleph, Ana. Aleph, Ana. What does Ana mean? I. Ana means I in Aramaic. Ana. Nafshi. Look at the word, Masha.
I looked at it.
Anochi, but look how I'm dissecting it.
But you know,
Aleph is on. Let me. Ana. Ana in Hebrew means, in Aramaic means ani. Nafshi. God says, I, my soul. Kaf, ktavit. I, my soul. I wrote my soul into the Torah. Yud Yahavit. How do you say I give it to you in Aramaic? Yahavit. Yahav. Bank Yahav. I give it to you. The word Yahav in Aramaic means what? I give it to you. You're right. Elisheva, you're cooking with gas. The Hebrew word ahava. The root is hav. From the Aramaic what? To give. Because when you love somebody, you want to give to him. Don't you see, Masha and Shelley, how Hebrew and Aramaic are what? They share the same root. Ahava, which means love, the root is Aramaic hav. When you love somebody, you give. So the Talmud says, Ano nafshi, God says, I, my soul. Tavit, I wrote my soul into the Torah. Yud, you have it? You have it.
Yes.
I'm not joking, you have it.
I do.
You have it.
Believe it.
You have it, says, I give it to you. God says, you want to possess my soul? It's in the Torah. Aren't you glad you came today?
but Anochi, but
Go
a
ahead.
human would never say Anochi.
Well, God is speaking
No,
here.
but I'm saying it's only used here.
No, it's used other places as well.
Yeah.
It's used other places as well, okay?
It's not Hashem saying it? Wait.
Shaymochi Anochi? That's a good question. What did Cain say? Yes, a good question. What did Cain say to God? What did Cain say to God? Let's go to the text here. What did, right? Go back to Bereshis. When Cain kills Hevel, and God confronts him, right? And God confronts him, and where's your brother? So let's take a look over there. Genesis 4, 9. Genesis 4:9. Now Masha asked a bomb kasha from Bombland.
Page 21.
Genesis 4:9. Hashem says to Cain, where's your brother Hevel? And he says, Hashomer achi anochi. Genesis 4:9, Bereshis 4:9. So there, Cain uses the word anochi. Okay?
Oh.
Okay? It's a good question. Why? Should have said Hashomer achi ani. Ostar kasha. My Rebbe would say von a kasha starben nicht, vor weiter. Verstehst du Yiddish? You don't die from a kasha. Go weiter. You're asking a good kasha. He should have said Hashomer achi ani. Okay? I don't know. 72 times in his Perush, Rashi says, I don't know. The greatest Rishon of all was Rashi. And he, more than any other Rishon, says, Ani lo yodeya, Avraham, 72 times. Is it a coincidence? The greatest of all the Rishonim, Rashi, says more than any other of the Rishonim, Ani lo yodeya. So Masha asked me a bomb kasha, and I'm in good with Rashi, I don't know. It should have said Hashomer achi ani. I don't know. But anyway, this is what the Talmud says. That's a homework assignment, okay? It's a homework assignment. But anyway, getting back now to the Ten Commandments. Getting back to the Ten Commandments is something incredible here. You only came to hear this. Now hear this. Exodus 20, Pasuk 8. Back in the Ten Commandments. Sheishes yomim tavod v'sisa kol malachtecha. 6 days you shall work and do all your work. And on the 7th day is what? Shabbos. Are you with me on that, Elisheva?
Yes, sir.
Exodus 20.
Yes.
You want to read that? 8 and 9?
Remember the Sabbath day to sanctify.
Right. The next one.
6 days shall you work and accomplish all your work.
And next one.
But the 7th day is
The Shabbos.
to Hashem your God.
Okay, now please stop right there. Abraham, Shabbos is mentioned dozens of times in the Torah. It's always prefaced with 6 days you shall work. How come Shabbos is never written, Reb Chaim Eliyahu, on its own? It never says observe the Shabbos. It's always prefaced with what? 6 days you shall work. Why is that?
Because God did it.
Says Avos the Rab Nosson, I think he was Haredi, Avot the Rab Nosson. Just like there's a mitzvah to rest on Shabbos, there's a mitzvah to work during the week. Should I repeat that? Avot the Rab Nosson, I think he was Haredi. The reason why Shabbos never says alone, it's always prefaced by 6 days you shall work. Dozens of times in the Torah, never Shabbos alone. Just like there's a mitzvah, Avram, to what? Rest on Shabbos, there's a mitzvah to work during the 6 days. Yeah. And the Avos Rav Nosson goes on. Ein adam met el b'toch Haftorah. A person only dies when he stops working. And he doesn't have nothing to accomplish, so Ein adam met el b'toch Haftorah. So therefore, ain't gonna work on Saturday, but during the rest of the week, you're supposed to work. Any work. You have to be busy doing productive work.
That's right.
And it's a mitzvah in the Torah, Abraham.
Yeah.
And a person is going to ask you, Abraham, where in the Ten Commandments is a mitzvah to work? Gee, Rabbi Sprecher said in the Ten Commandments a mitzvah to work. Well, Masha will point to Exodus 20, right? Pasuk 8 and 9. And quote the Avos the Rab Nosson, Avot the Rab Nosson. This great Tana wrote this Talmudic work, and this is what he says on this pasuk. Very interesting, Abraham, huh? Okay. Now the Torah goes on and says, right after the mitzvah of Shabbos, what pasuk Yud Aleph? Honor your father and your mother. Now we know, Avram, when two psukim are next door, there has to be a great connection. Why does the Torah put the mitzvah to observe Shabbat next to honoring parents? Chama, doesn't seem to be any connection. And we know when two psukim are next door, there has to be a strong connection. Why does the Torah write observing Shabbos next to honoring parents? So it says the Holy Ari HaKadosh. In Talmudic language, Shabbat is the symbol of Olam Haba. Right, Rav Yaakov? And Olam Haba. Shabbos is the symbol of life after life. The reason the Torah puts Shabbat next to honoring parents, even when your parents are no longer in the physical world. Where are they, Evelyn? In the Shabbos world, the mitzvah to honor them continues. Yes. That's why the Torah puts Shabbat next to honoring parents. Parents are no longer in this world. They're in the Shabbos world. The mitzvah to honor them continues. The question is how? So you honor them when, in this world, you take them out to a Chinese restaurant for dinner, right?
Right.
But in 12 minutes, they're hungry again. A lot of MSG, right? So the point that I'm making is when you honor them in this world, the hanoah is temporary. It wears off. But when you honor them in Olam Haba by dedicating a shear to their memory, giving tzedakah and saying Kaddish, it's not like a Chinese restaurant meal. The hanoah, how do you say in English hanoah? The benefit stays in the neshama forever.
That's right.
So I feel bad I didn't honor my parents enough. I made aliyah, I left them in Brooklyn. But now I'm giving them much greater hanoah in Olam Haba.
Right.
By giving a shear in their memory, Chaim Kanevsky says something amazing, Nechama. when you're giving a shear for a niftar, you should say the name. Leila Nishmat. Chaim Kanievsky says, Reb Shalom, for parents, you don't have to say the name. Reb Chaim Kanievsky Shlita says, for other people to dedicate a shear, you should say the name. So it should go for their benefit. For parents, it's not necessary. Anytime you study Torah, they're automatically getting the benefit. You don't have to say it. Because the parent-child relationship is not broken with death. So I'm honoring my parents now much more than if I would take them to even a steak restaurant. Because even a steak dinner, Avram, they're hungry again, right? But the hanah that they're getting now from me is eternal. So you have to know that. You dedicate a shear, you give tzedakah, you say kaddish, you're giving them tremendous kibud. And that's how the mitzvah goes on and on. Remember the Avi, the ever-ready battery? It goes on and on. Yeah. Even when your parents are on the Shabbos world, you have to honor them. Therefore the Torah puts what? Shabbat next to what? Honoring parents. Yeah. You like that?
I like it. Okay.
Yes, questions, comment? Don't all answer at once.
But we do say their name when we say it's in their memory.
Okay, so Chaim Kanievsky says it's not necessary. Doesn't hurt, but it's not necessary. It automatically accrues. Is that the right word? Yeah. It automatically accrues to their benefit. Rav Chaim Kanievsky, no less.
That's good. It's a good deal.
So I read the names of the people I'm dedicating. I didn't have to read my parents' name.
Okay.
It's not necessary. Rav Shalom. You need better than Chaim Kanievsky? You don't need better than him, right? Okay. So anyway, a strange pasuk. Exodus 20:14. All the people saw the sounds. Am I reading correctly, Elisheva?
Yes, yes.
Can you help me out there? Exodus 20, pasuk 14.
You shall not covet your fellow's...
No, the next one. Okay.
You shall not covet...
The next one.
15. The entire people saw the thunder and the flames.
No, it says the entire people saw the sounds. The English.
The sound of the shofar.
No, it says V'chol am royim et hakolot. All the people saw the voice. Literally, who knows Hebrew here? You know better than me, right? All the people saw, Masha, kolot. What does kolot mean? They saw the voices. Now, how could you see a voice? Evelyn, how could you see a voice?
Could hear it.
But it doesn't say that. It says they saw it. So the Talmud says it was skywriting. As God spoke the words, they saw it written on the sky. If Sky King can do it, God can certainly do it.
There you go.
I'm dating myself. Charlie, remember Sky King?
Yes, we remember Sky King, Rabbi.
Sky King. If Sky King can do skywriting, come on, Abraham. You hear this? As God spoke the words, they actually skywrited in the sky. So they actually saw. I'm 67. I wish I was 65. In fact, yesterday was my birthday. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Today's your birthday. There's not enough room on the cake. 67 candles. Thank you. What?
You should always celebrate your birthday.
Why?
Because it gives you more time to continue serving Hashem.
Uh-huh.
He gave you the years.
Those years?
Right. And to continue serving Hashem.
And I start counting backwards, though.
It's much better to lie about your age than you have more years.
No, but he did say to celebrate.
Yeah.
All month long, Rabbi.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to sell it all month.
All right.
We're having a party.
Okay, so we still have time, right? We still have time, okay? So the Torah goes on. So the Jewish people, how come we shuckle when we daven?
Yeah, that's
Rav Shaul, you got to hear this. Why do we shuckle?
yeah, even when
Where does it come from? Only by Yidden. You don't see Christians in a church shuckling, do you?
no.
They don't know how.
You see Muslims shuckling? You see them praying. I don't see even the Muslims, they don't shuckle. Where does it come from?
Probably from the people that couldn't read, they had one book or something.
No. No, Exodus 20, Nechama. Exodus 20. I'll wait.
Okay.
Exodus 20. It says there. Let's see. Yes. Where's that? Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's one. Where's that? It's actually Exodus 20, Pasuk 14. Oh, you read it 15. I have a different.
Oh, you shall. Okay.
No, all the people saw the kolot, elapidim, that kol shofar, za'ar ashen, vayara'am. Nechama, can you finish that pasuk? Shvi'i. See Shvi'i?
They saw and they trembled and stood from afar.
The people saw vayanu.
Trembled.
They shuckled. How do they say that in English?
Trembled.
Oh, it says tremble.
Trembled?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Vayanu doesn't mean to tremble, it means they shuckled. They swayed. So the Balaturim says something incredible. When we daven and pray, we want to recapture that magic moment.
Wow.
So we shuckle because they shuckled. They swooned.
But we were
They
there.
swooned with love and awe and ecstasy. So when we daven and learn, we're trying to recapture that magic moment. So says the Balaturim.
And it also, whenever you see pictures of space measures,
Right?
they're learning, they talk, this is how they talk to each other, Dr. Bruce's.
What?
They're always doing that.
They're shuckling. Because we're trying to recapture, Abraham, that magic moment. Vayanu. Abraham, you with me?
Yeah.
Huh? Vayanu.
What?
Shvi. The people saw the sounds and the smoky mountain, and the people saw Vayanu, and they shuckled.
New is shuckle.
To shuckle, it means to sway.
Is that what Shvi means?
Vayonu. In Yiddish it says shuckle.
Okay.
Shuck, rattle and roll. But in English it means to sway from ecstasy, like swooning.
Right.
You know, when you're madly in love, doesn't the lady swoon when hubby comes into the room? No?
It's been a while.
Been a while. Swoon. Nechama. Isn't that incredible?
Yeah.
Right? I think it's called, sway or swoon, right? Swoon, right?
Yes.
How do you spell that?
S-W-O-O-N.
Okay. So that's what we're trying to do when we are davening and learning, trying to get back there, right?
Yes.
Trying to get back there, right? Now, well, go ahead.
I would like you to tell us that what in this pasuk or in the Haftorah it refers to what's going on today.
What's going on today? Okay. Let's look at the Haftorah then. Okay, let's look at the Haftorah. The Haftorah in Isaiah. Where's it going on today? Glad you asked me that.
So we had one example of
Yeah.
how Yithro felt bad for his former colleagues.
Yeah. But look at the Haftorah.
Well, how does that
Well, look at the Haftorah. Look at the end of the Haftorah. Isaiah 6. Glad you asked me, Masha. Isaiah 6, verse 13. Anybody want to read that? Isaiah 6, verse 13. Anybody want to read it in English?
Page is it on?
There.
The Haftorah. Isaiah 6, 13.
10 more?
There will be.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Page 373.
Go ahead.
No, sorry.
Go, Marcia.
There will be 10 more kings in it, then it shall regress and come barren, like a terebinth.
372.
Which, when shedding their leaves, still have vitality in them, so will the holy seed be the vitality of the land.
What's he talking about? He's talking about after the Holocaust. The Jews became like a barren tree. All our leaves were shed. Our branches were cut off. A third of our people was slaughtered. But yet, we rejuvenated ourselves. The holy seed of Israel came back to the land of Israel 3 years after the Holocaust. That's what Isaiah is speaking about. We are rejuvenating ourselves. People gave up on the Jewish people after the Holocaust. We became like a barren tree. Yet the holy seed came back to the land to rejuvenate. We're living this prophecy, Evelyn.
Coincidence? Isaiah 6:13.
Oh, Isaiah 6:13. But again, the chapters in the Tanakh are goyish.
Yeah.
But there are no coincidences. You know, there are no chapters in Tanakh. The Barbanel told us. So where did these chapters come from? From Christian Bible printers.
What?
The Gutenberg Bible in 1414.
Sounds like a Jewish guy. Gutenberg.
The Christian Bible printers, they made up these chapters. So how come you didn't use it? Says the Abarbanel in his Akdama to Tanakh. Since the Jews were always being challenged to debating the Christians, so we had to be on the same page with them.
Right.
So for convenience, we adopted, but in Tanakh, there are no chapters 6 or 7. There are no chapters in Tanakh. But Nebuch, says the Abarbanel, since we were always being challenged with debates, and he lived at that time. So, in order to be on the same page, otherwise how do we answer all of their foolishness? So we adopted it for convenience. But again, there are no coincidences. Whatever happens, I'll to prove to you. Avram Avinu was born in the Hebrew year 1948 from creation. Avram Avinu was born in the year 1948 years from Briyat Olam. So the first Jew, Avram, the first mitzvah he got was Lech Lecha, come to Pisgat Zev, make Aliyah. When was the Jewish state created?
1948.
Now, even though it's secular, but it's still too wild to be a coincidence. A Jewish state in 48, secular. But there are no coincidences. And the first Jew was given the first mitzvah to make Aliyah, was born in the year 1948, and the Jewish state came back in 48. So again, there are no coincidences, right? Somehow it all fits in. Avram, a Jewish state in 48. Right? And Avram Avinu, 1948. So the 10 Commandments, it never says 10 Commandments. Nachama, you can't trust the movie. The book is better. It says Aseret Hadvarim, which means what? The 10 sayings, or the 10 things. It never says 10 commandments, because there are no 10 commandments. There are 620 commandments. The movie, you can't trust the movie. There's Aseret Hadvarim. The Torah in Deuteronomy 4 calls it Aseret Hadvarim.
10 things?
10 things, or the 10 words. In Hebrew, how do you say thing? Davar. How do you say word? Davar. Even in modern Hebrew. Why? How do things come into existence? God said, and the spoken word became the thing. So in Hebrew, even today, davar means word, davar means thing, because things came into existence. God spoke, and the spoken word became the thing. The sun, the moon, the stars, he spoke, it became the thing. So there are 10 sayings which contain 620 letters, representing the 613 Torah mitzvahs and the 7 what? Rabbinic mitzvahs. Thank you very much. Shabbat Shalom Uvarach.